Supta Padangusthasana is an excellent preparation for forward bends and a healthy antidote to tight hamstrings. As you practice this pose and release tension from the back of your legs, see if you can learn to challenge yourself without getting into a tug-of-war with your lower body. To begin, take hold of a belt, lie on your back, and straighten both legs. Inhale as you bend your right knee and draw your right thigh toward your chest. Hold the belt with both hands and wrap it around the arch of your right foot. Exhale and extend your leg up toward the ceiling. Keep your elbows straight and make sure that your upper back and head are resting comfortably on the floor. In order to completely stretch your hamstrings, it's important that you completely straighten your top knee. However, it is not important that your top leg is vertical. If your legs are tight, simply move your front thigh away from your upper body. If you are more flexible, move your top thigh toward your upper body to deepen the pose. Once you find the placement of your leg that suits your body, bring your attention to your bottom leg. Lengthen from deep inside your hip all the way through the center of your heel. Ground the back of your thigh toward the floor and gently rotate your thigh bone inward. From there, gently rock the front of your pelvis forward so that your lower back arches mildly away from the floor. This movement is subtle and may require you to move your top leg slightly away from you. Keep your breath steady and continue refining the pose by drawing your upper arms more deeply into their shoulder sockets. Draw the shoulder blades away from your ears and make sure that your arms are not overworking or hunching toward your neck. Release all unnecessary tension from your body as you continue to work your limbs thoroughly. Soften your facial muscles, relax your jaw, and quiet the mind. Take one more slow, smooth, deep breath. As you exhale, release your right leg and prepare for the second side. Supta Padangusthasana is an excellent preparation for forward bends and a healthy antidote to tight hamstrings. As you practice this pose and release tension from the back of your legs, see if you can learn to challenge yourself without getting into a tug-of-war with your lower body. To begin, take hold of a belt, lie on your back, and straighten both legs. Inhale as you bend your right knee and draw your right thigh toward your chest. Hold the belt with both hands and wrap it around the arch of your right foot. Exhale and extend your leg up toward the ceiling. Keep your elbows straight and make sure that your upper back and head are resting comfortably on the floor. In order to completely stretch your hamstrings, it's important that you completely straighten your top knee. However, it is not important that your top leg is vertical. If your legs are tight, simply move your front thigh away from your upper body. If you are more flexible, move your top thigh toward your upper body to deepen the pose. Once you find the placement of your leg that suits your body, bring your attention to your bottom leg. Lengthen from deep inside your hip all the way through the center of your heel. Ground the back of your thigh toward the floor and gently rotate your thigh bone inward. From there, gently rock the front of your pelvis forward so that your lower back arches mildly away from the floor. This movement is subtle and may require you to move your top leg slightly away from you. Keep your breath steady and continue refining the pose by drawing your upper arms more deeply into their shoulder sockets. Draw the shoulder blades away from your ears and make sure that your arms are not overworking or hunching toward your neck. Release all unnecessary tension from your body as you continue to work your limbs thoroughly. Soften your facial muscles, relax your jaw, and quiet the mind. Take one more slow, smooth, deep breath. As you exhale, release your right leg and prepare for the second side. Hero pose is a quieting posture that brings circulation to the legs as it stretches your thighs, ankles, and arches. It can serve as a great alternative to cross-legged seated meditation postures if you feel any discomfort in those poses. Many new students find that the degree of knee flexion that Virasana requires is uncomfortable. If that's the case for you, listen to your body and use this prop arrangement to keep the pose safe and effective. Place a folded blanket in the middle of your mat and set a block just behind the fold. As you proceed, if the pose strains your ankles, add another blanket. If the pose is difficult for your knees, add another block. But be willing to listen to your body and modify accordingly. Begin Virasana by kneeling on your blanket. Position your legs so that the top of your ankles are on the back edge of the fold and the top of your feet are on the floor. Your feet should be slightly wider than your hips. From there, slowly lower your hips between your heels and sit on the block. Before refining the pose, check 3 things. First, if you feel any sharp or intense sensation in your knees, or if you can't lower your seat all the way down to the block, you need to sit higher, so add more props. Second, glance down at your feet. It is essential that you are on the top of the feet, not the inside edge of your feet. If your feet are splayed, sit higher and reposition your legs. Third, make sure that your thighs are touching or parallel to each other and that your inner heels are touching your outer hips. Now that your legs are deeply folded and mindfully aligned, bring your attention to your hips. Rock your pelvis slightly forward so that you are perched on the front edge of your sitting bones. Lengthen your tailbone down into the block and bring your lower back into its mild, natural curve. Draw your upper arms into their sockets and gently engage your shoulder blades to lift your chest. Align your head with the rest of your spine and make sure that your chin is not jutting forward. Take a slow, deep inhalation all the way down into your abdomen and bottom ribs. Exhale and focus on the sensation of your breath as it releases. To release the pose, simply lean forward onto all fours and straighten one leg at a time behind you. Navasana is a demanding posture that will strengthen and tone your thighs, abs, and lower back. As you awaken and strengthen your midsection, practice keeping your jaw soft and your breath smooth. You will practice this pose in 3 phases. If any of the phases becomes inaccessible or creates strain in your lower back, simply repeat the previous phase. Start seated and bend your knees, placing your tiptoes on the floor. Bring your fingertips to the ground behind you for support. Engage your abdominal muscles, lean back onto your fingertips, and lift your feet until your shins are parallel to the floor. Keeping your knees bent, draw your thighs towards your chest and lift your chest toward your thighs. Gently squeeze your inner legs together. Transition to phase 2 by extending your arms forward, parallel to the floor. Continue to work your legs and engage your abs. Draw your shoulder blades down your back and lift your chest. If your posture collapses or your lower back begins to ache, bring your hands to the floor and repeat the first version. If you feel ready for more challenge, straighten your legs so that your body is shaped like a V. Scoop your abdominals in, lengthen your legs to their maximum as you rotate your thighs inward and spread your toes widely. Lastly, lift and broaden your chest as you charge your arms. Take one more deep breath, then slowly bend your knees and release your feet to the floor. Repeat Navasana on your own 3 times for 5 breaths each. When you practice yoga, you use the breath to help steady your nerves, focus your attention, and support you in all of your poses. Ujjayi pranayama, known as victorious breath, with its slightly audible sound, deep volume, and consistent rhythm, will support all aspects of your practice. Start by sitting in a comfortable position, either on your shins in virasana or with crossed legs in sukhasana. Elongate your spine, place your hands on your knees, and lift your chest. First, tune your awareness to your breath. Take a few moments and simply observe its texture. Is it smooth and consistent, or ragged and inconsistent? Now, as you begin to initiate your Ujjayi breath, think of making your breath longer, smoother, deeper, and slightly audible. Inhale through your nose and draw your breath toward the roof of your mouth. Exhale slowly, open your mouth, and make a soft ha sound. Do this again. Inhale through your nose, drawing your breath towards your palate, and exhale slowly, mouth open, making a ha sound. One more time for now. Inhale slower, smoother, deeper. Exhale, mouth open, and make the ha sound. The aspirant sound of ha is made by slightly restricting the base of your throat. This restriction slows the breath by narrowing the opening and provides an internal sound, or mantra, for the mind to focus on. Now, as you continue, you will keep the same restriction, the same ha sound, on the exhalation, but you will keep your mouth closed. Inhale slowly, exhale, mouth closed, and make a sound. Continue. Inhale, exhale. Now, imagine that you are inhaling through the base of your throat and create the same soft audible sound on the in-breath. Inhale, exhale. Take one more cycle of breath on your own. Now, return to normal breathing. Remember to practice this in all of your active postures. Although simple in appearance, Shavasana embodies the complex yogic teachings of surrender, non-attachment, and self-awareness. Be attentive in your setup, since a well-aligned, comfortable posture will provide your nervous system with deeper relaxation. To begin, lie back, bend your knees, and place the bottom of your feet on the floor. Pause for a moment and simply sense your back body as it rests on the ground. Lift your hips slightly, place your thumbs on the top rim of your pelvis and back, and lengthen your buttock toward your heels. Lower your hips to the floor and feel the length of your lower back. Straighten your legs one at a time and separate your feet as wide as your sticky mat. Place your arms 45 degrees from your body, palms up. Close your eyes and set aside your daily thoughts. Focus your attention on the subtle sensation of your body relaxing and dropping into the floor. Begin doing a body scan from the tip of your toes to the crown of your head. Bring your attention into your legs. Release the inner thighs away from each other and let your outer thighs drop toward the floor. Allow your legs to sink into the ground as if your thighs had heavy weights on them. Move your attention up to your pelvis and imagine that your hip bones release away from each other, allowing your pelvic muscles and organs to release any vestige of tension. As you feel this relaxation, release any holding in your abdomen and diaphragm. Allow your breath to become even softer. Let the back of your arms sink into the floor and the muscles of your shoulders relax. Imagine that your heart area is soft, receptive, and free. As your upper body melts into the floor, soften your jaw and temples. Imagine that your brain slightly recedes away from your forehead and nestles into the back of your skull. After 5 to 15 minutes in the pose, slowly awaken your body by moving your fingers and toes. Roll to your right side and pause. Press your hands into the floor and use your arms to press your body up to a comfortable seat. Slowly open your eyes and give yourself a moment to absorb the quieting, calming effects of your practice. This shoulder opening series will take your shoulders through their complete range of movement, which helps circulation, releases tension, and provides greater comfort in your neck. Prepare by sitting in Virasana. Kneel on a blanket and sit between your heels on 1 or 2 bricks, depending on the flexibility of your thighs and knees. Make sure that your thighs are parallel to each other, the top of your feet are on the floor with your toes pointing straight back, and your heels are as wide as your outer hips. Gently root down through the front of your sitting bones and lengthen up through your entire spine. Inhale as you interlace your fingers and reach your arms toward the ceiling. As you extend your arms, soften the base of your neck and draw the inside of your shoulder blades downward. You don't want your shoulders to hunch toward your ears. Draw your upper arms further back, but make sure that your front ribs don't push forward. Feel the stretch in your arms, outer armpits, and upper back. Relax your jaw and breathe smoothly. Transition to the next pose in the series by releasing your interlace, crossing your right elbow on top of your left elbow, and intertwining your forearms and wrists. If you're unable to intertwine the arms, simply cross the right elbow on top of the left elbow and hold on to your shoulders. Lift your elbows to the height of your shoulders and press your forearms forward. Encourage your shoulder blades to broaden as you breathe deeply into your upper back. Switch arms so that your left elbow is on top of your right elbow. Keeping your breath steady and smooth, lift your elbows, press your forearms forward, and breathe into your upper back. Feel your upper back and shoulders as deeply held tension melts away. Release your arms and transition to the third pose in the sequence. Interlace your fingers behind your back and stretch through your elbows. If you are unable to straighten your elbows without strain, simply separate your hands hip-width apart and hold a belt. Draw your shoulder blades down your back, lengthen through your elbows, and lift your arms. See that your head stays directly above your shoulders and your chin stays parallel to the floor as you open your chest. Breathe into your chest and feel expansive. Now, release the interlace and bend your elbows. Cross your arms behind you and hold on to your opposite wrists, forearms, or elbows. If this feels mild, you may be able to fold your palms together behind your back. Remember, the pose that fits your body best without strain will be the most beneficial. Deepen the posture by relifting your chest, broadening your collarbones, and pressing your shoulder blades against your back. Take one more slow, calming breath. Release your arms and feel the subtle sensations of space and ease in your entire shoulder girdle. Ardha Matsyendrasana is a seated twist that will stretch your outer hips, release tension from your spine, and open your shoulders. Remember that keeping your spine long is just as important as how far you can rotate. Begin by sitting on the front edge of a folded blanket with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. Slide your left heel in front of your right sitting bone and align your right thigh so that your knee faces forward. Step your right foot over your left knee and place it on the floor. Make sure that you're sitting high enough that your pelvis is neutral, with your lower back upright or slightly concave rather than rounded back. Now, reach your left arm up towards the ceiling and thoroughly elongate your spine as you lift your back ribs and broaden your chest. Initiate your twist by wrapping your left arm around the front of your right knee and spiraling your torso clockwise. Place your right fingertips behind you on the blanket to help support the length of your spine. Inhale, engage your abdominal muscles and draw upward from your navel to the top of your chest. Exhale, lift your lower back more strongly and turn your spine until you feel a deep rotation. Continue to deepen the pose by sliding your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Press the elbow gently against your outer knee to rotate your shoulders further. Refine your posture by drawing the outside of your right hip crease towards the floor. Relift the left side of your lower back and broaden your chest. Observe the sensations of your breath as you slide your shoulder blades down away from your ears. Gaze over your right shoulder with soft, relaxed eyes. Use a deep, relaxing exhalation to release the posture. Pause, then take the other side. Baddha Konasana will stretch your inner thighs and improve circulation in your hips. Allow gravity to release your inner thighs towards the floor over time instead of pushing your knees downward. Begin the pose by sitting on the front edge of a folded blanket. Bend your knees and place the bottom of your feet together. Bring your heels close to your pubic bone so that your legs fold deeply and you feel a light stretch in your inner legs. Press your fingertips into the floor next to your hips and lengthen up from your hips to the crown of your head. If you notice that your pelvis slumps back and your lower back collapses, sit on another blanket. Now, press your heels together and encourage the top of your thighs to release toward the floor. Separate the top edges of your feet like two halves of a book. Gently draw your abdominal muscles towards your spine to support the length of your torso. Initiate the forward bend by rocking your pelvis forward. Keep your spine long and walk your hands in front of you to support the weight of your upper body. Continue releasing into a forward bend until you feel a moderate stretch in the inner thigh and groin. Be sure that you don't compensate for tension in your legs by rounding your back. Once you are in your maximum forward bend without strain, repeat the fundamental actions of the pose. Press your outer heels together, lengthen your inner knees away from your groins, hollow your lower belly, and move your chest forward. Breathe slowly and deeply into places where you feel tension. Relax your facial muscles and jaw as you draw your attention inward. To release the pose, inhale as you slowly lengthen and lift your torso back to vertical. Child's pose is a soft, soothing posture that gently stretches the back, folds the legs, and provides rest. In addition to being a quieting pose, it is a pose you can take in class when you need rest. To begin, place your shins on the floor with your toes touching. Separate your knees slightly wider than your hips and lower your sitting bones toward your heels. Hinge forward from your pelvis and walk your hands in front of you. Slowly lower your torso all the way to your thighs and rest your forehead on the floor. Place your head on a block or a blanket if it doesn't comfortably come to the ground. Rest your elbows, forearms, and palms on the floor in front of you. Make sure that your neck is comfortable. As you settle in, direct your breath into your lower back and side ribs. Feel the gentle expansion of your back body as you inhale. Feel the subtle release of your body as you exhale. Deepen the pose by allowing your body to sink more deeply into the ground. Observe the fold of your legs, the relaxation of your abdomen, and the release of your arms. Yoga teaches us to open and expand our body, but it also encourages us to turn inward and find a sense of shelter. Appreciate the state of quietude, relaxation, and reflection for one more breath. To lift out of the pose, place your hands underneath your shoulders and press yourself upright. Pause for a moment and feel the aftertaste of the pose. Setubandha Sarvangasana is a deep yet accessible back bend that stretches the chest, neck, thighs, and spine. Practice rooting down through your feet and arms in the pose to create greater depth in your spine, but be careful not to flatten your neck into the floor. Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. Initiate the pose by gently pressing your lower back down so that your tailbone curls slightly up. Root through your feet and begin to peel your hips away from the floor. Mindfully roll up, vertebra by vertebra, and keep your tailbone reaching toward the back of your knees. Focus on keeping your lower back long, distributing the arch evenly along your entire spine. Tuck your shoulders underneath your chest. Hold the outer edges of your sticky mat, or interlace your fingers and burrow downward into the mat with your arms. Breathe slowly and deeply into your abdomen. Lengthen your tailbone and your lower back as you shift your attention to your legs. Align your thighs so that they are parallel to each other and position your knees directly over your ankles. Your shins should be vertical. Root down through the base of your big toes and float your pelvis just a touch higher. Expand your chest, heart, and lungs as your breath saturates your front body. Practice deepening your pose without losing the integrity of your alignment or sacrificing the comfort of your lower back and knees. Take one more expansive inhalation, then exhale slowly and lower yourself down to the floor. Observe the sensations of your body and breath as you take a moment of stillness. Utkatasana conditions the legs, back, and arms. It provides an opportunity to stay calm and breathe deeply during a challenging moment, and to observe the relationship between your hips and lower back. Begin in Tadasana with the base of your big toes touching and your outer feet parallel. Place your hands on your hips, bend your knees, and lower your hips as if you're sinking down into a chair. Keep both of your knees facing straight forward. Root down through your heels and lower further still until you are at a maximum without strain. You should feel your thighs engage intensely. Notice how your pelvis tilts forward, your tailbone lifts, and your lower back arches. Balance this tilt by lengthening your tailbone down and drawing up through your hip points and lower abdomen. This will create length in your lower back and will enable you to lift your chest. If your lower back still feels compressed, lift up out of the pose slightly and tuck your tailbone more strongly. From here, fold your palms together. Firm your shoulder blades against your back, broaden your collarbones, and lift your breastbone. Tap into the strength of your breath and reach your arms strongly overhead, shoulder width apart, palm facing each other. Cultivate a feeling of fortitude as you lengthen up through the outer ribs, through the armpits, and into the elbows and fingers. Relax your jaw and soften your eyes. To come out, straighten your legs and release your arms by your sides. Take a slow, deep breath. Chaturanga Dandasana and Urdhva Mukha Svanasana are integral parts of sun salutations, so you'll practice them over and over in flow classes. Chaturanga builds arm and core strength, while Up Dog stretches the spine and front body. Both poses require a lot of strength and meticulous alignment. Since chaturanga and up dog are such challenging poses, it's very hard to hold them long enough to refine your skill. To overcome the challenge of holding these poses, you're going to repeat these poses. The first time you will bring your knees to the floor and practice a modified version of chaturanga. The second time you will practice the full pose by keeping your legs straight. Continue practicing the first version until you feel strong enough to work on the full, straight-legged version. To begin, start in downward facing dog. Rock forward to plank pose and lower your knees to the floor. Bend your elbows, hugging them into your sides, and lower your chest forward and down until your upper arms are parallel to the floor. Keep your pelvis, torso, shoulders, and head in one plane. Engage your shoulder blades against your back and draw your shoulders away from your ears. Transition to upward facing dog by straightening your elbows, lifting your chest until your shoulders stack directly over your wrists, and lowering your hips. Press the top of your feet into the floor, lift your thighs, and draw up through your chest. Press the base of your fingers into the floor, broaden your collarbones, and firm your shoulder blades against your back. Draw back into downward facing dog, and take 2 slow, deep breaths before repeating the pose with straight legs. Rock forward to plank pose and keep your legs straight. In addition to the work of your arms, focus on engaging your thighs and abdominal muscles. Inhale, press back through your heels and draw forward through your crown and chest. Exhale, bend your elbows and lower halfway to the floor. Shoulders, elbows, torso, pelvis, and legs in the same plane. Inhale, shift into upward facing dog by straightening your elbows, aligning your arms so that they are vertical, and lifting your chest. Continue to work your thighs and engage your abs. Take one more inhalation in upward facing dog. Then exhale, shift back into downward facing dog and feel the sensations of your entire body. Bring your knees to the floor and release into child's pose for a moment of rest. When you build a well-aligned bhujangasana, you build your foundation for all other back bends. The pose strengthens and tones the arms, back, and shoulders, opens the chest and expands the lungs, and it stretches your spine. Lie face down in your sticky mat and establish the foundation of your pose. Place your hands in line with the center of your chest and spread your fingers wide apart. Press down through the top of your feet, anchor your pubic bone into the mat, and draw your tailbone toward your heels. Now that your foundation is set, engage your shoulder blades against your back and lift your chest away from the floor without using your arms. Take a smooth cycle of breath. Now, deepen your pose by pressing your hands into the floor, hugging your elbows against your sides, and partially straightening your arms. Lift your breastbone higher and observe your spine. Ideally, your lower, mid, and upper back will have a similar degree of sensation and curvature. If you feel any sharp, painful sensations along your spine, lower down a bit. If not, continue to straighten your arms as you root your pubic bone and lengthen your legs. Expand your chest. Once you've come up to your maximum without strain, focus on your breath. Imagine that you have gills in your lower back and that your breath is creating space and release in this region. Slowly lower down to the floor, keeping your elbows pressed against your outer ribs and your shoulder blades drawn away from your ears. Cross your forearms and rest your forehead on them. Adho Mukha Svanasana is a powerful pose for decompressing your spine and creating a feeling of spaciousness throughout your entire body. Finding the appropriate distance between your hands and feet in downward facing dog is essential. Begin face down on your sticky mat and place your fingertips in line with the center of your chest. Press up to all fours and keep your hands and feet where they are. Transition into the pose by tucking your toes under and lifting your hips toward the ceiling. Straighten your knees, draw your thighs back, and lift your hips higher. Engage your quadriceps by drawing them up. Complement this by reaching your heels down. Most practitioners' heels don't touch the floor, so don't let your mind or ego get caught up in this detail. With your breath strong and steady, begin refining the pose by bringing your attention to your hands. See that the front of your wrists are parallel to the front of your mat. Spread your fingers and press down through the base of your fingers. Extend strongly through your arms so that your elbows are straight. Gently spiral your elbow creases forward to align your shoulders and broaden the inner border of your shoulder blades. As you reach strongly through your arms, press your thighs back and feel your spine getting longer. Breathe deeply and smoothly as you create length, space, and strength in your entire body. Lower your knees to the floor in order to release the pose. Utthita Parshvakonasana stretches the entire side body, opens the inner thighs, and strengthens the legs. To begin, bring your hands to your hips, step your feet wide apart, and turn your right foot out. Rotate your back foot slightly inward and align your heels. Bend your front knee so it is directly over your front shin. If you want more sensation in your legs and hips, step your feet further away from each other. With your stride firmly set, bend your right elbow and place your forearm on your right thigh, palm up. Gaze straight forward, extend your left arm overhead, palm facing the floor. Create one integrated line from the outside of your left foot through your left fingers. This is your extended angle. Breathing smoothly and deeply through your nose, observe the degree of sensation in your legs, hips, and torso. If this feels too mild, deepen the pose by placing your right hand on a block. Remember, a bigger pose is not necessarily a better pose. Aim to balance effort and relaxation and to find a sense of cohesion in your body. Refine the pose by reaching more strongly through your back leg and top arm. Notice if your top ribs are rounded towards the ceiling. Instead, keep both sides of your ribs evenly lengthened. Support your lower back by drawing your navel towards your spine and rotate your chest towards the ceiling, bringing your gaze with you. Enjoy this moment of thorough elongation. Over time, you may be able to bring your hand all the way to the floor without the block in the fullest expression of the pose. From where you are, slowly rise all the way back to vertical, pause, and take the second side of the posture. Practicing Ardha Chandrasana will teach you to lift, expand, and stretch your entire body while you navigate subtle shifts in your balance. It is the perfect pose to reconnect to a feeling of spaciousness, freedom, and agility in your body. Come into Warrior Two on your right side and place a block behind your right ankle. Place your right hand on the block and your left hand on your left hip. Step your back foot forward towards your front foot and shift your block 6 to 12 inches forward. Lean forward and simultaneously lift your left leg as you straighten your standing leg. To help facilitate balance, gaze towards your front big toe. Keep your eyes still and root down through the base of this toe. Energize your standing leg so that the thigh is firm and the hamstrings are stretching. Gently roll your left hip open so that it is stacked on top of your right hip. Lengthen through both sides of your rib cage evenly, turn your chest, and extend your top arm toward the ceiling. To help with your balance, lightly draw your navel towards your spine and lengthen your tailbone toward your heels. Breathe smoothly and deeply as you expand through all of your limbs, recreating a feeling of spaciousness and expansion within. Over time, you may be able to bring your hand all the way to the floor without the block in the fullest expression of the pose. Practice staying present, focused, and calm, even if the pose is challenging for you. Slowly bend your front knee and lower your back foot to the floor. Pause for a moment and feel both of your feet on the ground. Root down through both feet, come up to standing, and pause for a moment before reversing and taking your second side. Janu Shirshasana opens the hamstrings, lengthens the spinal muscles, and creates a quiet, reflective mind state. To avoid strain, it is essential that you focus on alignment, integrity, and length in your lower back as you practice. You may need to use a strap in order to forward bend without over-rounding your spine, so have one handy. To begin the pose, sit on a folded blanket and straighten your legs in front of you. As with every other seated pose, it is essential that you are able to sit vertically without struggling. If your lower back is rounded, sit on more blankets. Bend your left knee deeply, turn the leg out, and place your left foot against the inside of your right thigh toward the groin. Inhale deeply, lift up through your spine and hinge forward from your hips. Take hold of your right foot. If your hamstrings won't allow this, wrap a belt around the arch of your foot and hold on to it with both hands. Inhale once again, lengthening your spine. Exhale, fold forward to your maximum without strain. Gently rotate your abdomen and ribs towards your right leg and lengthen through the left side of your waist. Press the back of your right leg and your sitting bone down in order to maximize the stretch and help lengthen your lower back. Finally, tuck your chin slightly and gaze down, keeping your head in line with your spine. Breathe deeply as you feel the back of your body stretching. It's easy to focus on how low you can descend toward the front leg, but don't forego quality and integrity in the quest for a deep pose. Going too far before you're ready can put you at risk for injury. In order to prevent this, continue to focus on your spine's length as you fold forward. Draw your shoulder blades down your back and soften your facial muscles. Even though you may be faced with resistance in your body, take a moment to appreciate the quieting quality of this pose as you turn your gaze and attention inward. To come out of the pose, inhale, re-lengthen, and lift your spine to vertical. Pause, and practice your second side. Marichyasana 3 is a deep, intense twist that opens the spine and strengthens the abdominals. It's essential to keep your pelvis neutral and your spine long in all twists. To facilitate this, prepare for Marichyasana 3 by sitting on the front edge of a folded blanket. Extend your left leg forward. Bend your right knee deeply and set your heel as close to your right sitting bone as possible. Take your hands to your right knee and lengthen your spine so that your back feels light and your chest is lifted. If your pelvis is tilted backward and it's hard to achieve this length, simply sit on more blankets. Now, wrap your left arm around the front of your right knee and twist your belly, ribs, and chest to the right. Support the lift of your spine by pressing your right fingertips into the folded blanket behind your hips. Deepen the pose by lifting your lower back further up away from the floor and twisting your entire rib cage even more. To enhance this work, see that the left knee is facing straight up towards the ceiling, then press the left leg and right foot into the ground. You may notice that it's challenging to breathe in this position because your diaphragm is compressed. Without trying to change anything, just continue to breathe and wait for the pose to unfold. If and when you feel like greater intensity is appropriate, slide your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Gently press the elbow into the knee, lift your chest, and rotate your shoulders into a deeper twist. Draw your shoulder blades down away from your ears and bring your chin parallel to the floor. Rotate your head and neck gently towards your right shoulder. Breathe slowly and deeply as you release the muscles of your back. Retain the length of your spine and balanced degree of rotation until you release the pose, pause, and practice the other side. Plank pose is an essential element in sun salutations that builds strength and integration in the upper body, abdomen, and legs. As you practice it, engage these areas of your body simultaneously to help keep your hips and legs from collapsing. Begin in downward facing dog. Rock forward until your shoulders are directly above your wrists and your forearms are vertical. Your entire body should resemble a plank of wood. Spread your fingers wide apart, root down through the base of your fingers, and press the floor away from you. Rotate your elbow creases toward your thumbs and lift the back of your heart to broaden the inner border of your shoulder blades. Now, draw your navel toward your spine and lengthen your tailbone toward your heels. Notice how this prevents your lower back from collapsing and keeps your ribs and pelvis integrated. Firm the front of your thighs strongly to support the weight of your pelvis. Keep your head in the same plane as the rest of your body. Don't let it drop. Feel this intensity and breathe smoothly. To release the pose, slowly lower your knees to the floor and rest in child's pose. Prasarita Padottanasana releases tension in the back body as it lengthens the hamstrings and inner thigh muscles. By separating your feet wider apart, you will be able to fold more deeply into a forward bend than you would in Uttanasana. Take a wide stance, turn your feet parallel, and place your hands on your hips. Inhale, reach down through your legs, hugging your thigh muscles to the bones, and draw up through the front of the spine. Exhale, fold forward from your hips and release your torso into a forward bend. Take your hands to the floor underneath your shoulders for support. The true skill of a yoga practitioner is to take a pose's objective parameters and make subtle adjustments until the pose fits your body. To do this, observe the degree of sensation in your legs. If the sensation is mild, walk your hands back between your legs, bend your elbows, and release your torso more deeply. If the sensation is too intense, place your hands on blocks. As you find the appropriate intensity for your body, refine all of your movements. If your elbows are bent, hug them towards each other as you draw your shoulders up away from your ears and press your shoulder blades onto your back. Balance your weight between the front of your heels and the balls of your feet. Draw up through your thigh muscles and roll your sitting bones towards the ceiling. As you do this, allow your spine to release with gravity. Breathe into your belly, lower ribs, and sides. Lastly, relax your neck, soften your eyes, and release your jaw. To come out of the pose, take your hands to your hips, root down through your feet, and rise up to standing. Parivrtta Trikonasana is a complex and demanding standing pose that will stretch your legs, open your hips, and provide your spine with a deep twist. Make sure to support your bottom hand on a block or on your shin to help you stay balanced and stable. To begin, stand with your feet parallel and wide apart. Place your hands on your hips. Turn your right foot out and rotate your back foot in at a strong angle, about 45 degrees. Align your heels and bring your attention to your legs and hips. Spiral your back thigh in and rotate your back hip until both hips face forward. Take a deep breath in and reach your left arm toward the ceiling. Exhale and hinge forward at your hips, placing your left hand on a block inside your front foot. Inhale and lengthen your torso. Exhale and rotate your abdomen, ribs, and shoulders to the right as you extend your right arm toward the ceiling. Keep your head neutral by either gazing down at the floor or toward the wall to your right. Bring your awareness to your back thigh. Lengthen through the leg and root down into the floor through the four corners of your back foot. Spiral the leg inward and continue to rotate your back hip point toward your midline. Root downward into the base of your front big toe and squeeze your right outer hip in. Now that your legs are steady and your hips neutral, lengthen the left side of your back and turn your chest more thoroughly. To come out, release the twist and bring your top hand down. Root down into both feet and come up to standing, keeping your back long. Pause for a moment, then take your second side. Shalabhasana will strengthen the muscles of your arms, legs, buttocks, and spine as you lift up against gravity's resistance. Don't worry about how high you go. Instead, focus on creating an even degree of sensation from the back of your legs through your lower, mid, and upper back. To begin, lie face down. Set your feet hip-width apart and rest your arms along your sides, palms up. Find the neutral pelvis that you had in Tadasana by rooting your pubic bone into the mat and lengthening your tailbone toward your heels. These movements will keep your lower back long and broad as you lift up. As you inhale, peel your chest, shoulders, arms, and hands away from the floor. Lengthen the back of your neck, lift your head so that it is in line with the spine, and gaze down. Rotate the arm bones so the thumb tips face the floor. Now, lift your legs up so that the only parts of your body contacting the floor are your pelvis, abdomen, and bottom ribs. Keep breathing as you deepen the pose. Lengthen your legs and rotate the front of your thighs towards each other. Draw your chest forward, broaden your collarbones, and draw your shoulder blades away from your ears. Observe the sensations in your lower, mid, and upper back. If your spine feels at all compressed, lower your legs and your chest just a touch. If your back feels strong and integrated, lift your front body further away from the floor. Relax your eyes, forehead, and jaw. Now that you've been in the pose for several breaths, slowly lower to the floor and observe the sensations of your back. This mild twist will open your hips and release tension in your spine. The simple shape of the pose gives you the opportunity to learn the fundamentals of sitting with a neutral pelvis, as well as the essential elements of twisting. A healthy seated twist begins with a neutral pelvis. To achieve this, sit cross-legged with your right shin in front of your left shin. If your hips are tight, or if your knees are significantly higher than your pelvis, sit up on a few folded blankets. Feel the contact of your sitting bones against the blanket and rock your pelvis slightly forward until your lower back is vertical, rather than slump backwards. If you are not able to do this with ease, you should sit on more blankets. Now that your pelvis is neutral, move your shins slightly forward so that they are parallel to the front edge of your mat. Press your fingertips into the folded blanket next to your hips and lengthen your spine up. Maintaining your long spine in your neutral pelvis, exhale and rotate your abdomen, ribs, and chest to the right. Place your left hand on your right knee and use your arm as leverage to help you rotate. Imagine a spiral staircase running from the center of your pelvis up to the crown of your head. Turn your head, shoulders, ribs, and belly with the same degree of intensity and rotation along that staircase. Breathe smoothly and rhythmically as you elongate your spine. Observe the sensation of gently wringing out tension from your ribs, abdomen, and back. Use a long, calming exhalation to rotate your torso back to neutral. Cross your left shin in front of your right shin and prepare for your second side. Tadasana is a foundational pose in yoga. It teaches you to align your spine and to balance your weight evenly from front to back and side to side. Its simple shape enables you to begin drawing your awareness inside. Begin by placing the base of your big toes together and aligning the outside of your feet so that they are parallel. Gently engage the muscles of your legs as if they are hugging the bones. Then bring your awareness to your hips. To help find your neutral pelvis, we'll exaggerate two common imbalances. Place your hands on your hips and tilt your pelvis forward until your tailbone lifts and the arch of your back increases. Now, tilt your pelvis the opposite direction by rocking your hips back and tucking your tailbone under until your thighs jut forward and your chest collapses. To find neutral, draw your thigh bones slightly back and lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Lift your hip points and gently engage your lower abdominal muscles. You will repeat these pelvic movements in many of your poses. Release your arms alongside your body. Elongate up through your spine and abdominal region. Lift your chest and broaden the front of your collarbones. Imagine that your lungs are filled with helium and continue to float the chest upward and expand it outward. Support this internal height by moderately engaging your shoulder blades against the back of your ribs. With your chin parallel to the horizon, place your skull directly over the center of your spine. Soften and relax your eyes, ears, and jaw while you continue to draw your attention inward. Take a deep breath and feel the stable column of your entire body. Vrikshasana introduces the element of balance into your yoga practice, but don't be surprised if it invokes a state of imbalance, and don't be concerned about falling out of the pose. Just practice beginning again without judging yourself. You can also support yourself by using a wall until your posture strengthens and stabilizes. Begin in Tadasana. Bend your right knee, grasp your right shin as close to your ankle as possible, and place your right foot on your inner left thigh. Place both hands on your hips. Elongate through your standing leg and firmly squeeze your right foot and left thigh together. If you're unable to lift your foot all the way onto your thigh, simply bring your foot to your ankle. With your foot pressing firmly into your standing leg, align both of your hip points so that they are facing straight forward. As you do this, gently draw your right knee back. Fold your palms together so that your thumbs touch your heart. Firm your shoulder blades into your back in order to lift and broaden your chest. Inhale, lengthen your torso, and reach your arms up, shoulder width apart. Invigorate your arms, straighten your elbows, and turn your palms to face each other. In order to help you balance, softly gaze toward a fixed point in front of you. If you notice that you are holding your breath and becoming rigid, practice releasing this unnecessary tension. Soften your eyes and jaw while you deepen your breath. Slowly lower your arms and right leg in order to release the pose. Now, take your second side. Upavishta Konasana is a classic seated forward bend that opens the inner thighs, groins, and hamstrings. Don't be surprised if this pose is challenging. Be patient with your body and, if need be, sit with your back against the wall to keep your spine vertical. Begin by sitting on the front edge of a folded blanket. Place your fingertips on the blanket next to your hips and extend your legs wide apart. Wide may be a relative term, but shoot for a 65-degree angle. Firmly engage your legs, root the back of your thighs into the floor, and stretch from your inner groins through your heels. Make sure that the tips of your toes and your kneecaps face the ceiling. As your legs awaken and lengthen, spread your toes and draw the balls of your feet toward your shins. Be sure that your heels do not lift off the ground, as this will cause your knees to hyperextend. As you stay in the pose for a few more breaths, press your fingertips down into the floor and lift your lower back, ribs, and chest. These movements will decompress your back, facilitate your breath, and prepare your body for a healthier forward bend. If you already feel a moderate stretch, it is best to stay upright. If your body will accommodate more intensity, you can safely proceed into a forward bend. Initiate your forward bend by rocking your pelvis forward and hinging at your hips. Keep your spine long and walk your hands in front of you to support your upper body. Continue to fold forward, staying elongated from your pubic bone to the top of your chest until you are at your maximum stretch without strain. Breathe deeply and feel your whole body extending and lengthening. To release the pose, press the hands into the ground in front of you, inhale, and slowly lift your torso back to vertical. Observe the sensation of your body and take a calming breath. Uttanasana is one of the best postures for unraveling tension along the entire back body, particularly the hamstrings and calves, which tend to feel restricted to new practitioners. Practice reserving judgment about your flexibility and tune your awareness to releasing the restrictions from your body. Begin the posture with your feet hip-width apart and parallel. As you continue in your practice, you may bring your feet closer together, but this width will provide you with greater stability as you learn the pose. Place your hands on your hips and firm your thighs. Fold over your legs and release into the pose. Once your pelvis has stopped rocking forward and you've awakened your hamstrings, place your hands on your shins, ankles, or the floor. Your hands should help support the opening of your back body, so don't allow your arms to simply hang in free space. If this feels intense, or if you have a history of lower back challenges, bend your knees until you feel more ease and comfort in the pose. It's important to keep your spine long in this pose, so resist the temptation to round forward too substantially. Now, refine the posture by bringing your awareness to your feet. Shift your weight so that it is evenly distributed between the balls of your feet and the front of your heels. Draw up through your thighs, roll your sitting bones towards the ceiling, and gently engage your lower abdominal muscles. Lengthen and release your spine as you relax your neck, jaw, and mind. Breathe smoothly as if you are saturating the back of your legs with your breath. To release the pose, place your hands on your hips, lengthen your tailbone towards the floor, and come up to standing with your spine long. Utthita Trikonasana is a thorough posture. It creates a feeling of spaciousness in the body and builds strength. As your body expands out in many different directions, you must also learn to keep it integrated and stable. Begin triangle pose by finding your stride. Bring your hands to your hips, step your feet wide apart, and turn your right foot out. Turn your back foot slightly in and align your heels with each other. Gently engage both of your thighs. Keeping your hands on your pelvis so that you're sensitive to its movement, hinge at your right hip crease and bring your right hip bone towards your right thigh bone. Be sure that you're hinging from your hips rather than your waist. Lower your bottom hand to a block. Observe the degree of sensation in your front leg and determine which block height is going to give you a challenge without creating strain. Shift your attention to your ribs and elongate both sides evenly. Lengthen through your spine and spread your breath throughout your body. Root down through your bottom arm and reach your top arm strongly towards the ceiling. Spread your collarbones and open the front of your heart and lungs. Gently rotate your abdomen and ribs towards the ceiling. Gaze straight forward with relaxed eyes. A common mistake is to let your torso swing forward and the hips swing back. Instead, see that your torso, hips, legs, and feet are in the same plane. Over time, you may be able to bring your bottom hand to the floor and turn your gaze up towards the ceiling. But for now, from where you are, breathe in feeling both expansive and steady. Using an inhalation, press through your legs and lift up to standing. Pause for a moment with your feet parallel before taking your second side. Virabhadrasana 2 builds stamina, it strengthens the arms, legs, and spine, and it cultivates flexibility in the groins. The most essential element when you begin Warrior 2 is to create a stride that fits your body correctly. To begin, bring your hands to your hips, step your feet wide apart, and turn your right foot out. Turn your back foot slightly inward and align your heels with each other. Bend your front knee so that it is directly above your ankle. See that your shin is vertical. Take a moment to feel the degree of sensation in your inner thighs and hips. If you want a deeper stretch, simply step your back foot further away. As you do this, make sure that you keep your front shin vertical. When the degree of sensation is just right, that sweet spot where you're entering a challenge but not straining, you'll know that your feet are perfectly spaced for now. Now that your stride is set, it's time to make some refinements. Engage your back leg more strongly, align your front knee so that it points towards your second and third toe, and gently rotate your hips away from your front thigh. Create a neutral pelvis by lengthening your tailbone down, lifting your hip points up, and engaging your lower abdominal muscles. Keep both of your hips level, lengthen your spine, and broaden your chest. Bring your awareness to your arms, vigorously extend them away from each other, and gaze towards your right fingers. Broaden your shoulder blades and lengthen through your outer arms. Keep your arms aligned with each other and feel the integration of your upper body. Keep your eyes relaxed and breathe smoothly. Feel the quiet strength of your entire body. Slowly straighten your front leg, turn your feet parallel, release your arms, and take your second side. Virabhadrasana 1 opens and strengthens the legs, creates space in the spine, and tones the arms. Though challenging, this pose builds strength and confidence. Take a wide stance, rotate your right foot out, and place your hands on your hips. Turn your back foot in 25 to 45 degrees and align your heels. Notice how your back foot is turned in more here than it was in Warrior 2, Triangle Pose, and Side Angle Pose. Bend your front shin so that it is directly above your ankle and your shin bone is vertical. Take a moment to feel the stretch in your inner thighs, groins, and hips. If the sensation is too mild, step your feet further apart. As you do this, make sure that you keep your front shin vertical. Now that your stride is a challenging yet sustainable width, rotate your hips toward your front foot. Very few people will be able to completely square the hips towards the front leg. So, instead of forcing the movement, simply rotate your hips forward until they stop. Create more space in your lower back by lengthening upward through the front of your hips, navel, and spine. Draw your tailbone down and reach your arms strongly towards the ceiling, elongating your torso. Keep your arms shoulder width apart and focus on straightening your elbows completely. Breathe deeply as you further energize your back leg, spine, and arms. Drop your front thigh more deeply into the pose for one last breath. Now, slowly straighten your front leg, release your arms, and prepare for your second side. The Yoga Encyclopedia is an essential reference tool that will help you develop a safe, effective, and knowledgeable yoga practice. The 30 postures included will form the foundation of your yoga practice, providing you with an in-depth understanding of each pose's benefits, alignment, breathing cues, and basic modifications. This encyclopedia is designed to be used in a few ways. First, you can simply watch the encyclopedia before practicing and get a sense of the poses and techniques. Second, you can practice along to the encyclopedia and cultivate a deeper, experiential understanding of each pose. When you do this, please note that some of the poses are asymmetrical and only one side is demonstrated. When this is the case, simply pause your DVD and take what you've learned to your second side. Lastly, as you practice the accompanying sequences, you may find that you have questions and need more practice with certain postures. You can always revisit the reference and practice the poses that need greater refinement, or spend more time in any pose that you've come to crave. In order to facilitate and deepen your practice, you'll want to have 3 key props: a blanket, a block, and a belt. If you don't have these tools at home, you can probably find household items to replace them with. You can use a pillow or couch cushions as your blanket. You can use a few books as your block, or you can always use a belt as your yoga strap. Be safe and smart and enjoy your practice.